All right, let's go to this video from Catherine Tait, the head of the CBC, was questioned by a conservative MP for spreading pro-Hamas misinformation about the cause of an explosion near a hospital in Gaza. We will recall that Israel was initially blamed for that until it became very, very clear that it was Islamic Jihad misfired a missile and it fell short and hit the parking lot, and not 500 people were killed. Much less than that. A bunch of cars went home to the Lord, though. That's what happened. And CBC was one of the main proliferators with Justin Trudeau and members of his cabinet of spreading that falsehood. And Catherine Tait, who you will recall lives in upstate New York, or actually in New York City, and commutes back and forth because Canadian content, I guess, whatever. But anyways, she was called before the House to answer for this, and she refused to. So let's show that.
Your mandate is to, you are responsible to Canadians. It's $1.4 billion of taxpayer money. But you said that that you stand by the statement. Palestinians say hundreds killed in Israeli airstrike on Israel hospital. Israel blames Islamic Jihad. That still exists. It is a headline that has been debunked by governments across the world, including even our own Prime Minister, albeit 7 days late. So I want to know if you'll apologize to Jewish Canadians. I want to know if you'll apologize to Canadians. And I want to know when we can expect a retraction from CBC.
Mr. President, I will, Mr. Chair, Monsieur le Président, I will not apologize because the journalism is among the finest in the world. Our journalists operate in an independent fashion, independent of management, independent of the board of directors, and independent of government and political influence. They are guided by the journalistic standards and practices, and I invite any member and any Canadian to refer to these practices on our website. They are transparent and they are public, and if you have a concern, anyone has a concern with our journalism, I invite you to address it to the independent ombudsman en français ou en anglais in order to have them independently investigate and review the application of our journalism.
I understand that you're not going to apologize for printing disinformation, but how can the CBC, who's committed to truth, who's committed to standards, not call Hamas terrorists? We saw a leaked memo from the Director of Journalistic Standards, that's Mr. Achi, who sent a directive to journalists for saying not using to not use or describe Hamas as a terrorist group. You do agree, it is fact that that Hamas has been listed as a terrorist organization in 2002 in this country, correct?
I will address the issue as follows, Mr. Chair. I think there's a fantastic blog by our head of news, Brodie Fenlon, which you can refer to. He does this very often to comment on making journalism transparent, explaining to Canadians how we do the journalism. And in the case of attribution, this is a policy that we have had at CBC Radio-Canada for over several decades. It is shared and mirrored by many other reputable news organizations, including the Globe and Mail, the BBC, Agence France Presse, Reuters, and any number of other agencies. So I would just say the attribution, we use the word terrorist and terrorism and acknowledge that Canada, the UK, and the US consider Hamas a terrorist organization, but we, as journalists, do not make that attribution.
What? Okay, just so you know, on CBC Kids, they went through a big descriptor. I sat through several CBC Kids videos and read several CBC Kids articles describing Hamas as militants and then describing what militants are. They refuse to use the word terrorism, even though Hamas is a designated terror group. I wonder if they would take that same approach with the Proud Boys. She says that, our journalists act nice thumbnail, guys. Our journalists would act independently, I guess also independently of editorial oversight and independently of ethics, because when they publish misinformation, they make you jump through a bunch of hoops and go to the ombudsman for a decision that may or may not come months later. In the meantime, CBC continues to publish misinformation and leave the bad story up. You know what? We saw this in Alberta. They published that absolute, complete misinformation about Premier Daniel Smith meddling in the justice system. And that was before the Alberta election. And they didn't publish a correction until well after the election, well after the damage was done. They left the story up, they left the headline up, they didn't even adjust the headline, and then made a correction that was longer than the story itself. But they let it go until the damage was done, and most people don't even know a correction was ever levied.
They actually just justify why we should defund like CBC, yes, because they are spreading disinformation, accusing independent media to do the same thing. And they are the one who receive billions of dollars from taxpayer money and inducing citizens into the wrong direction. So yep, my point is like, you just justify why the Conservative Party want to defund the CBC. And especially, you're not ready to apologize, just a simple thing. Apologize to have published and maintained for a while an article who was completely false.
Yeah. She could have said, we got it wrong. Mm-hmm. And if they had ever corrected it, like this could have went away a long time ago. We got it wrong. We corrected it. We adjusted the headline, the end. It happens. News happens at the speed of news. It's very quick. Facts change as you write the news story. For example, this morning when Avi was deplatformed from his book signing, it started off as a book signing being canceled as opposed to a book signing refusing to be canceled and then rebooked. And we had to change the article as we were writing it, as we went. But it's important to do that because you have to get the facts right. Now, I think facts bend towards the arc of conservatism, generally speaking, if you are publishing truth. But the CBC quite frequently doesn't do that, and they bend the facts to fit their narrative instead of realizing that the facts actually justify your worldview, as is the case with me.
And especially when it's something that is happening in the other country, that you know that there is manipulation of information on the ground. And so more you learn and more the time go, more, of course, sometimes information would change or some information would be debunked. So as your role as a journalist is like, oh my God, I was misleading by people on the ground. The real fact is not this. So I need to take the responsibility because I did make the story to change it and to apologize because I got misled by information that I got. And now I have news that actually lead to another like news. So I need like, it's the responsibility of journalists to make the effort to step on their ego and say, yes, I was wrong.
Yeah, follow the facts wherever they lead is what I tell you guys all the time.
Hey, I got to tell you, I'm going on a cruise with a whole bunch of rebels. We're sailing out of Fort Lauderdale on March 23rd, 2024. That's not so far away, less than 6 months away. A gorgeous trip around the Caribbean. Holland America Line, boy, is that luxurious. And we're going to bring some of our favorite rebel talent. Sheila Gunn Reid, David Menzies, and can you believe it? We're actually bringing Tamara Leach with us, and you are invited. That's rebelnewscruise.com.